Good day, welcome back to Rangers Ready Go. Today I'm going to review episode 17 of Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel, Happy to Be Me. I'm happy to be me. You happy to be you? Everybody needs to be happy. It's good to be happy. Well, Levi Weston, the Gold Ranger, uh, contrary to the title of this episode, he is not so happy in this episode. Um, a bunch of stuff happens to him. The episode opens with the villains, Tynamon and Madame Odious on the Galaxy Warriors ship, talking about the Ninja Fusion Star that Tynamon had picked up from Brody in the last episode when Brody dropped it fighting the monster. Well, Tynamon wants to use the powers of the Fusion Star. However, Madame Odious informs him that he cannot because the Power Stars are voice activated and it only responds to the Rangers' voices. That was the theory, that I kind of thought, through pretty much all of the Power Rangers series that I've seen, Super Sentai, whatever have you, is that a lot of these things are probably voice activated. Therefore, that's why a lot of the villains don't even bother trying to steal their morphers or their technology to use it for themselves because they can't use it for themselves because it's voice activated. It only responds to the corresponding Ranger's voice that uses it. Well, I don't really see that being the case in every series because there has been scenes, say, in the Japanese series and then Super Sentai. I remember vividly several times where a monster or a villain would steal the morpher or the changer of a ranger and just use it. Same thing could go for, say, Kamen Rider. They just, as long as they have the device and they know how to use the device, they can morph, or they can change, they can transform into said hero using said power. So the idea of the Rangers' weapons, their in this case the Power Rangers Ninja Steel, their Power Stars. Um, Again, I can see that being plausible that they're voice activated. In the Japanese version of this series, Shuriken Sentai Ninja, they don't give you any indication that their morphers, that their Power Stars are voice activated. It just seems like, again, as long as they own them, they're holding them, and they use them, they can change, they can morph, transform, use the power, whatever have you. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out the window. It's well, not throw it out the window, but you know what I mean. I'm just put it out there. Voice activation is a plausible theory for their weapons. Moving on, once he finds this out, uh, obviously he has a plan already. He knows how to get a ranger's voice. He says, "I'll just steal one. My name is Tynamon. I'm just gonna steal a ranger's voice." That's pretty much what he sounds like. Well, instead of stealing a ranger's voice, he basically just swaps his voice with Levi's. Plausible, right? It works. I mean, he's supposed to be using a spell again. But if he already had this power, why didn't swap people's voices? Why didn't he just do that with like all the Rangers? Switch all their voices around with each other. That way they can't activate their individual power stars properly. That would have been a better plan, other than just stealing one Ranger's voice to try to use the fusion power star that he stole. Well, whatever. Cuts to the Power Rangers training area, which is, again, just as this the school's shop class scrapyard. Again, I don't understand how other students don't just barge in and see them training in these ninja suits, or the Rangers themselves. Anyhow, Mick informs Levi that he has created a new power star for him, specifically a superstar mode for Levi, which only responds to his gold energy and works with the superstar blade that Sarah built. Again, that's not the way it happened in the Japanese version, but I'm not talking about the Japanese version. I'm talking about Power Rangers, not Super Sentai. So in this version, Sarah, the Pink Ranger, builds the Superstar Blade a few episodes back, and now in this episode, Levi gets a new power-up for free, doing nothing to earn it. Because I've said before in the past episodes of Super Sentai, of Shuriken Sentai Ninja, basically any of the Power Ranger, the Super Sentai series from Japan, they don't just get the new powers and say, "Oh, look, I made a new power for you. Here, have it. Use it." No, it doesn't work that way. Their new powers usually are derived from, they usually get it by having some kind of a personal breakthrough, or training to be able to, up to the point where they're able to use it, or just discovering it through their own abilities and powers and abilities, and then now I just created this. I just earned this right, so now I'm going to use it. Not just made randomly and given to them to use. It just kind of takes something away. It takes the mysticism away. It takes away some of the that good feeling that you get when you earn something isn't as good as the feeling that you get when you're just given something. That's kind of what I'm talking about. But of course, in Power Rangers, they're just given all their powers. They're nothing is learned or earned. Put it that way. Well, as they're training, he gives Levi the new Power Star to test out. Why don't you test it out? Yeah, go ahead. Well, he goes just as soon as he's getting ready to morph. Tynamon appears. Again, if the enemies can just appear at the Rangers' base of operations, why don't they all just go there and destroy the place? Anyway, he shows up, casts a spell on Levi to steal or swap his voice with Tynaman's. And that actually is pretty funny, hearing Tynaman's voice come out of Levi and then Levi's voice come out of Tynaman. It was a little bit unnerving. I actually think it was more unnerving hearing Levi's voice coming out of Tynaman than Tynaman's voice coming out of Levi. But anyway, I still think it was kind of funny the way he was talking. Of course, even the Rangers are, they're concerned, obviously, but later on back at the school, when they're trying to figure out how to, or basically what happened to Levi, Preston obviously knows because he uses magic spells. The Blue Ranger, he knows magic. And he finds out that, yeah, he switched voices with Levi. Obviously just to be able to use the Power Fusion Star, or Fusion Power Star. Well, as they're sitting in the cafeteria and Levi is rather depressed about his new voice, who overhears him talking but the resident ass clowns Victor and Monty. And of course they start making fun, mocking Levi for his voice, stating that he sounds like a chipmunk. No, chipmunks have a very, very high-pitched, child-like voice, while Tynaman's voice just sounds like an old man, kind of. A really, really sickly old man. I don't know if I do a good impression. Probably not. I'm going to stop. Anyhow, the Rangers try to explain that, oh, well, he sounds this way because of a virus. He's got Tynamanitis. That actually made me laugh a little bit. I'm like, Tynamanitis? Are you kidding me? Kidding me? Anyway, they go back to the base to try to see if Preston knows any magic spells to reverse Tynaman's spell. Well, he finds a spell, but it does not work the way they wanted it to. Instead of changing Levi's voice back to his own, Preston proceeds to turn Levi back into a child. So now not only is Levi walking around sounding like an old man, and I said I wasn't going to try to do the voice again, but now he's got the body of a child, of a 10-year-old. this is just great. Obviously, the lip syncing, obviously, they're dubbing over the voice, Tynaman's voice over Levi, and then, of course, Levi when he gets changed into a kid. But when he's a kid, it's a little bit stranger because you don't expect to hear old, this drunk old man voice coming out of a 10-year-old kid's body. It's just kind of, it really is confusing and weird. Thankfully, it doesn't last long. Of course, Levi is very, very upset. Preston and the rest of the Rangers are going through all of his magic books, spell books, trying to find a spell to, again, reverse the spell that originally tried to reverse another spell. What is this, Mystic Force all over again? Well, Levi, frustrated as he is, I'd be frustrated too, decides to go get some air. Well, I guess his idea of getting air is walking miles from the school to a public park and talking to a little girl about why he's different, why she's different, and there's some kids who make fun of Levi for his voice when they ask him to kick their soccer ball back to them, and they laugh at him, they mock him. Levi gets to know a little girl, and the little girl, obviously, a little bit of whimsy, says, "Oh, when I I'm feeling down, I just I'm reminded of my favorite song." And then she starts singing a song which is obviously one of Levi Weston's songs. And Levi Weston's right there, but she doesn't know it because he's a kid. Ugh. Anyway, as this is happening, Tynamon actually succeeds in using the Fusion Power Star to fuse Skull Gators together into one massive monster. I do remember in the Shuriken Sentai no Ninja, I'm trying to remember, I don't think the villain needed anything special. Yeah, they didn't need anything special to to fuse the Skull Gators together. They just did that all on their own. So it was just one of their abilities. So them including it in this episode as a special ability only being possible by the villain using the Ranger's Fusion Power Star adds a little bit more of a dynamic to it, a little bit more of a backstory, not just, okay, well, here's these giant monsters that obviously have the power to fuse into an even more giant monster. You get what I'm saying. But again, the Rangers try to fight it with the Megazord, and they get their butts kicked for the first time. It just plows right through them. Because, Zords work that way. They're not just going to just get flattened or destroyed. They're just going to break apart and flutter off until they're summoned again. Well, after the Rangers' first initial defeat, Tynaman, for some reason, gets upset with the monster because the monster is not listening to his orders. So Tynaman uses his magic to shrink the monster down to human size, and then proceeds to scold him for not defeating the Rangers. They get mad at each other, and then they teleport away for later on, obviously. Well, back at the Ranger base, they're once again poring over all of Preston's spell books to try to turn Levi back, when Levi has Preston has an epiphany and says, "Oh, wait, well, maybe the original spell that I used, maybe I just got it mixed up because Levi's saying he's feeling all confused and mixed up, so maybe I got all confused and mixed up." What? How does that work? I'm not going to rack my brain trying to think about that one. But in any case, he uses the exact same spell on Levi that turned him into a kid to begin with, and then it turns him back into an adult and fixes his voice again. It not only fixes Levi's voice, but Tynamon's voice on the Galaxy Warrior ship, his voice got switched back automatically too. And then says, "Oh shoot, now the Fusion Power Star won't work for me. That's okay. I've got another plan. Get down there and kick the Ranger's butt again." So he just sends the monster, infuriates the monster by saying he can't defeat the Rangers. But then, of course, the monster's just going to say, "Yes, I can." And then he goes and tries to fight the Rangers again. Well, Now that Levi is back to his full normal size self, with his voice back intact and everything, um, the Rangers go to fight the monster again. Mega Mauler, or I think is his name, Mega Mauler. It just doesn't sound right. It sounds like someone who likes shopping way too much. They go to fight him, and obviously he's still human size. He hasn't grown to giant size again yet. They get there, the Rangers morph, and automatically Levi says, I'm going to try my new Power Star. So he does, which of course brings us to the coolest part of the episode where Levi actually morphs into his superstar mode. And what that really, all that basically does is, aside from giving him a new weapon and upgraded powers, the only thing that changes aesthetic wise, like changes his appearance, was his poncho shield, his shield poncho that he had um, from before gets changed into basically a gold shinier version of said poncho, but now it has uh, it's more of like a jacket poncho, a poncho jacket with little tassels and stuff on the end. Little bit cheesy, but they're going with the whole Western ninja kind of theme. Um, so therefore, yeah, he may be a ninja, but he was raised in America, so he's Western, and he likes country music, so therefore, even more of the Western influence. Um, Again, it's country music. Levi plays country music, even though they've called him a rock star in the show. And no, he's not a rock star because he plays country music. So anyway, um, it may be strange to some people, but I think it looked cool. And so he uses his new mode, his new powers to finish off Mega Mauler in his humanoid form. But of course, that's not it. And uh, the Rangers have to summon their Megazord after Cosmo enlarges Mega Mauler to giant size again to wreak more havoc. The Rangers, after getting the fusion stuff, Fusion Power Star back. I can't. Power Fusion. It's confusing me now. Too many titles, too many names. I think that's what's confusing me. And then of course, I have to live in a neighborhood where people drive very, very loud, noisy, busted cars. Sorry if you guys heard that. They decide to use the Fusion Star to create a new Ultra Zord, combining the Blaze Megazord with their Ninja Steel Megazord. It's really nothing spectacular. It's stuff that we've seen before. I'll just destroy my whole set while I'm at it. Well, they form the Ultra Zord and they defeat Mega Mauler. Pretty self-explanatory. And that's pretty much the majority of the episode, guys. Every single Power Rangers episode has to end with the Power Rangers in victory, and then learning some kind of a lesson at the end. In this case, the lesson was after they were done, they go back to the park. All the Rangers are walking in the park, and they come across the little girl that Levi did when he was a kid with Dynamon's voice. And of course surprises her, and she knows who he is. Yo, you're Levi Weston, so cool. And he informs her that you helped out a friend of his, which of course was just him when he was a kid, and yada yada so forth. Then invites her and the rest of the Rangers to play soccer with him. And of course, his soccer ball is gold because, he's the Gold Ranger. So, gold soccer balls are easy to find apparently. And they start playing soccer together. Then the bullies from earlier, who mocked Levi when he was a kid for his voice, for having a strange voice, they wanted to play with them too because, oh, cool, it's Levi Weston. And he asked the little girl if she wanted to let them play soccer with them. She says, of course. And then they all start playing happily together. But of course, we can't get out of the episode that easily. Of course, the very end of the episode, we have to have our ass clowns make one last appearance wearing full body hazmat suits. And Victor proceeds to say, "Nothing can harm me while I'm in this suit." Then, of course, here comes the soccer ball, hits Victor in the head, knocking his hazmat suit mask to the ground, as well as knocking him into Monty, subsequently knocking both of them into a pile of mud. And what follows was probably the worst CG mud splash I've ever seen in anything ever. Even in cartoons, mud splashes look more realistic than that CG mud splash. I don't know why, out of everything in this episode, the biggest thing I have to complain about is a CG mud splash. If anything, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's actually good that that's pretty much the only thing I'm really complaining about in this episode, is a CG mud splash. Other than that, guys, it was actually decent. Again, I really would like them to be better, considering this is episode 17 of Super Ninja Steel, which is obviously the second season of Ninja Steel. There's only a handful of episodes left. When are we going to get to the point where there's actually going to be some conflict, aside from the Dimensions in Danger crossover episode, the 25th anniversary episode? When are we going to get to some actual conflict? I really would like to know, because usually most of the other series, last 3 or 4 episodes are usually pretty conflict heavy and have to be continued at the end, builds some suspense, actually has more drama, more action to it. But here we are, episode 17 of the second season of Ninja Steel, Super Ninja Steel, and the episodes are still going through the motions as with their normal formula of every episode has a singular story and a singular lesson to learn, and then it's just rinse and repeat. It's a cookie cutter episodes. Come on, this is episode 17. Pick up the pace, just a little bit. It's we've only got a few episodes left. I mean, I know this is going to go down as probably my least favorite Power Rangers series ever, next to Lightspeed Rescue. That was a long time ago. Because man, that series. Anyhow, that was my review of Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode 17. Happy to be me. Leave comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Did you enjoy it? Do you agree with me? Do you think that they really need to pick up the pace now that they've only got a handful of episodes left? Roughly probably 4, maybe 5 episodes left of the entire series. Do you agree with me? They need to pick it up. They need to get a little bit more suspenseful and thrilling and just intriguing. They need to start making us a little bit more interested toward the end of this series, or else this is just going to be a series that I'm just going to forget as soon as Beast Morphers begins. I'm just going to Super Ninja what? Anyway, be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you guys haven't already. You all know the deal. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all next week. This concludes our broadcast day.